You're the first Ball State fan I've ever met or talked to, ever.
Can't believe I'm saying this.
Tell him, Rob. Tell him.
We won't be intimidated by the atmosphere. I may or may not have owned a old school Miami Hurricanes starter jacket.
Welcome, college football fans, to another episode of the Inside Insight Show, a series where we bring on a content creator or fan that covers Miami's opponent each week so they can tell us a little bit more about their team. Now, in today's episode, I'm happy to be joined by Rob, who had Miami fans up in arms earlier this week with a tweet that he put out, but more on that in just a moment. Before we jump into this, Rob, if you could tell the people a little bit about yourself. I'm sure they're noticing a lot of Ball State stuff behind you there, and let them know where they can find you if you want them to follow you.
Absolutely. My name is Rob Calhoun. I am a graduate of Ball State, season ticket holder, 25 years, Muncie resident. Started off doing just your typical old school message board stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sidelines at Ball State on Twitter contacted me a couple years ago about taking over a dormant Ball State account. We had about 50 followers. I've raised that up to about 5,000 followers. Nice. So for a school like Ball State, that's pretty darn impressive. As you know, if you want to give a follow over there, just keep up with us after we play you guys. That'd be great. I know we played Georgia last year, so Georgia kind of became my go-to P5 school for the year. You know, I kept up with them. I'd love to have you guys on board.
Let's go. So yeah, what I'll do, guys, is I will link all of Rob's stuff in the description and in my pinned comment. And I always tell them, Rob, I say, you're going to want a place to go to talk some trash after we get the win, right? So here's your opportunity.
You know?
Go follow Rob, check him out.
Some of your fans, I realized that after the other day.
Yeah, so speaking of that, let's go ahead and kick this thing off with a bang and talk about that tweet that you put out back on Tuesday. So what I'm going to do, you don't see this, but I'm going to throw the tweet up on the screen so the viewers can see it. But I'm going to read it out here. You said, and I quote, "You thought NIU's upset over an overrated Notre Dame team was good. Wait till you see what BSU does to Miami this week." Okay, yeah, you're right. I'm high. So I want to ask you a question here about it because you did have Miami fans up in arms. So you kind of got baptized. You got introduced to what we call Canes Twitter. I know it's X now, but most people call it Canes Twitter. And we're a rowdy bunch. So number one, did you expect that tweet to blow up like it did? And number two, how was it being introduced to Canes fans online on Twitter?
No, I did not expect the blitz that was coming. I spent 14 hours on Tuesday. 14 hours going back and forth with what seemed like an endless supply of Canes Twitter sphere, and I had a blast doing it. 99% of you guys are awesome. I hope you keep it up. It was a great day. I mean, because I have carpal tunnel from 10,000 responses, but you know, it was a damn good time. I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, man. We Miami fans on the internet are relentless. It's like we just keep coming at you. There's so many of us, and at the end of the day, hey, all joking aside, I think it's fun. You know, the trash talking, the banter, and stuff online. So I'm glad that you enjoyed yourself with that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I being in Indiana, I don't interact with a lot of Miami fans.
Mm-hmm.
remember my first recollection of Miami football. I grew up an hour from South Bend. So we're talking the 87, I think it was, Catholics versus convicts game.
Mm-hmm.
You guys might remember, what was that guy's name? Rocket, right? Rocket Ismail, something
Yeah.
like that. I didn't get you guys dirty.
Yeah. Now, that is something I have to say that Miami fans can agree with you on, is you added the overrated Notre Dame in the tweet. That's something we can definitely, agree on when it comes to Notre Dame. None of us like them.
Hey, man, I'm going to tell you like I told some of your fans. If you guys are truly an elite top 10 team, you guys should put it on us like an elite top 10 team should. And that's a big win, and I totally mean that.
That's true. Well said. So last week, let's get into some Ball State talk here. You guys played Missouri State, and you did end up winning the game 42-34. But going into halftime, the Cardinals had only put up 7 points. For Miami fans who maybe missed that game, what happened or changed in the second half for Ball State? I know it was the first game of the season. Maybe there was some jitters or things to work out, but what went on there in the second half with that explosion for the offense?
Well, the first half started with disaster. Our biggest problem last year was the inability to get vertical to make any chunk plays. So we hit the portal, grabbed a couple guys, got a guy back transferred from Colorado, and we're thinking we're good to go. We lost all 3 of them in the first 2 minutes of the game. So now we're back to not being able to do the game plan that we wanted to, which was try to stretch the field more. And it just took give it to the staff. They made some adjustments and had to switch some things up. But then we kind of got it going, had a redshirt freshman really step up and make some good plays for us. So after getting it going, not exactly what we wanted to do, but a win's a win.
No, you're right, and that's huge. You have to be able to make those emergency adjustments on the fly sometimes, and things weren't looking good, but in the end, you get a win, and that's really kind of all that matters at the end of the day. So what would you say then for Ball State would be maybe the biggest strength and possibly the biggest weakness for the team currently?
I would say right now,
and I know it's tough. You've only had one game.
Yeah. Right now, we've only played one game. We lost 6 guys to Power 5 programs since last year due to the portal. We're very young. Our one really cohesive group that we have back is our O-line. But then I look at that and I look at your D-line and I'm like, well, damn. It's an intimidating bunch you have up front there. So that kind of, I don't know if it negates it, but definitely
Right.
in our most cohesive unit, where we have a lot of players back, where we're playing a lot of seniors, is our O-line.
And I guess you could look at that as a good thing, though, given that that's such a big strength for Miami. If that's a strength on your team, at least you possibly have something to kind of counter that a bit. So that's definitely a huge positive for you guys. Now, so your first game this season was against an FCS opponent, and then now you're going on the road to take on a top 10 team.
Yeah.
What would be your biggest concern as a fan looking at this Miami team going into this matchup? What would worry you most about the Canes?
Well, I mean, number one, we won't be intimidated by the atmosphere.
Okay.
Georgia last year played number 1 Georgia. Tennessee before that. We play big teams every year because we need to cash $1.5 million checks
Fair.
to keep you know what I mean.
Hey,
So
can't hate on that, right?
no, so a lot of our guys have been there, so we're gonna be okay in that regard.
Is there an area with Miami though that you're just like, wow, I'm really worried
Yeah,
about that?
oh
Is
yeah. There's one. It's called, does Cam Ward want to have one of those Heisman padding games?
Yep.
Because I'll tell you what, I sat through another one of those games in '98, and the dude's name was Randy Moss.
Hmm.
He came to Muncie and he decided, this is where I'm going to throw my 500-yard game up, and he did it. And so, if it's one of those where you guys are going to, come out and really pad the stats, it could get. And I hate saying this because I love Ball State,
Right.
but it's just one of those things. You have to be a realist about stuff.
Absolutely. And Canes fans so far have been pleasantly surprised because it's looking like it's early in the season, but looking like Cam Ward is as advertised. He had some issues. He wasn't perfect, had an issue fumbling the ball and some other things going on, but so far so good for us Canes fans. We're pretty happy with the pickup with him.
Yeah, and he's got three great wide receivers out there to throw the ball to. So it's like, okay, we'll put our best corner. We have a couple good corners.
Mm-hmm.
Put our best one on A, but then B, C, and probably D and F are going to kill. And so it's catch-22.
Right.
So,
Well, can you give me an impact player on both sides of the ball? Maybe someone on offense, someone on defense that Miami fans should look out for?
We're definitely really high on our redshirt freshman quarterback, Caden Simonza.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to do some things, especially in the MAC. He was a freshman All-American tight end, Tanner Koziel. He is a big 6'5", prototypical tight end, more wide receiver-esque. He can go out and make some things happen.
Okay.
On the defensive side, we have a great D-end, rush linebacker, outside backer type guy in Keontae Newsome.
I saw his name pop up a lot.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of good talent. A lot of it's very, very young. So like I said, we're learning. We got 5 new coaches as well. We're learning.
Including a new defensive coordinator, correct?
New offensive, new defensive, new cornerbacks coach, new running back coach, and I believe a new O-line coach, all this year. So it's a really pivotal year for our staff because, their seat's not exactly, it's warming.
Right. And to be fair, though, this is still a huge opportunity for Ball State because you get you talk about the money, you talk about the exposure from a game like this. And as we discussed, a MAC team did upset a top 5 ranked team in the country. No matter how we feel about Notre Dame, they did have that number 5 by their name. So that's huge. So basically what I'm getting at is it's not impossible. We all know that. We make jokes, us Canes fans, we're going to poke at you and laugh, but it's not impossible. So with that being said.
And, if you watched the MAC over the years, that is Notre Dame, NIU beating Notre Dame isn't the first time that a MAC school has. We've probably done it more than anyone else.
Yeah, you have Bowling Green only lost to Penn State by 7 last week, and Bowling Green also beat Georgia Tech last year. So it happens.
Yeah, it happens. It does, and that's the thing. And I don't foresee anything like that happening, but yeah, you can't put it out of your mind,
Mm-hmm.
You guys found out against, what was it, Middle Tennessee?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bad memory, Rob. Bad memory.
Oh man, well, I got to throw my jab, and I can throw one, brother.
I've tried to remove that one. Who'd you say? MT something? Never heard of them.
Right? I gotta come back with what I can here.
So can you give me, since we're talking about a potential upset here, since anything could happen, could you give me a key for Ball State to win this game, or just to even keep it competitive?
I mean, I kind of have an anatomy of an upset. It takes us playing our best game, you guys and your staff playing a terrible game, some bounces, and an act of God, and we could pull this off.
Hey, now listen, I do weekly preview videos, and I give 3 keys to a victory for each team. And the last key to a victory for FAMU last week, I said, is they needed to pray, and they needed to pray real hard because they needed some outside, help outside of football. And obviously, they didn't take it to heart and do it enough. So maybe this week Ball State can do that. But
Midwestern people, we'll give it a shot.
right? So,
Right?
can you tell me a little bit? I was doing the research on Ball State, and you guys had picked up, I believe, a transfer receiver. So, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. Justin Bowick. It looks like he missed last week due to an injury. But looking at this guy's size, it looks like it could be very beneficial to have him on the field this Saturday. Is there any chance of him playing?
He was a pregame DNP last week. We expected him to play. We expected big things out of him. Like you said, he's a big wide receiver. He's one of those, and by all accounts, he's a burner. He's one of the guys we were expecting to be on the outside that ended up not playing.
Right.
Ball State is historically really tight with injuries. So I've been asking all week, is he going to be able to get out there? He had an MRI on Wednesday. I don't know. That's all I know.
We kind of already briefly touched on the Cardinals O-line and the experience that they bring into this game.
Yes.
But can you give me a little more information on, we know that they have experience. That unit has a ton of snaps across the board combined. But size-wise, do you feel like they're up for the challenge against Miami's D-line, or do you have any hope in that area? I mean, do they have some big boys up front in the trenches?
We held our. I'm not going to say we held our own at Georgia, but they held up at Georgia last year. Same group. So if they can, hold up at Georgia, I'm assuming they could hold up pretty well against you guys.
Okay.
And another thing, we did bring in an FCS All-American running back, Braden Sloan. And, so you always wonder how that guy transitions.
Right.
He looked the part last week.
Yeah, I think he rushed for over 100 yards, correct?
He did, and he caught a bunch of balls, and, so that's a bright spot. Like I said, our redshirt freshman quarterback. I think we'll be able to do some things, and that's all we're really looking for is how do some of these individual players and these schemes work against you guys, because then we can say, well, if they worked at least okay against Miami, they ought to work in the MAC.
So before we get to a win-loss or possibly even score prediction here, depending on how far you want to take it, do you have any bold predictions for this game at all?
No, but I do have a couple things I think you guys might find interesting that will kind of give you a tie to Ball State. Number one, your cornerbacks coach, Travis Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
He coached at Ball State about 5 years ago.
Oh.
And he brought in the best recruiting class Ball State has ever had. Sent 5 of those kids to the pros.
Wow.
And those kids are the ones that resulted in leading us to the MAC championship in 2020. So you have a good one there.
Yeah, we like him a lot. We feel like that was a big upgrade, actually. We're a huge fan of Chevis Jackson.
Keep paying that man. And secondly, back in 90, I want to say it was Butch Davis, 98, 99, you had a quarterback named Kenny Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
His son now plays for Ball State, Kyle Kelly. And you'll be seeing him at corner. He'll be doing some packages at quarterback. He was actually our quarterback last year for 6 games and switched to DB this year and kind of going to do some two-way stuff that's going to get added in through the season. So Kenny Kelly, if you're out there listening, we became friends over the last few years. What up, Kenny?
That's awesome. That's actually some cool information, and I was not aware of either of those. So as you said, that kind of ties Miami and Ball State together a bit, which is really cool.
Yeah, so, just tidbits.
Because, I try to do my research online. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first time Miami and Ball State have met on the field, correct?
Yeah, we played we played the smaller, the US. We beat Southern Florida one year. We played FIU. We played Florida one year. That didn't go very well. But, I hate Florida.
Again, another thing we have in common. Look at this, Miami fans. All the things we have in common with Ball State fans. There's actually more than I thought.
Now, don't ever tell anyone this, but I may or may not, I'm old. I may or may not have owned a old school Miami Hurricanes starter jacket back in the early 90s.
Yeah, who didn't want one of those, right?
You're right. I mean, it was the thing that it was the thing to have.
Dang, you don't have it anymore?
No,
Dang.
And growing up an hour from South Bend, I kind of feel your loner thing there.
Yeah.
I got a lot of crap for that starter jacket.
Oh, I bet. So Rob, it's time to get down to the nitty gritty here and talk win-loss, talking potential numbers. I try to not pressure my guests to give an exact score prediction if you don't want to, but I will say that I'll break the ice here. A lot of people have probably already seen my preview video, so they're aware of my prediction. But I do have Ball State scoring some points.
Got on there.
I have Miami 48, Ball State 10.
Brother, you're not going to believe this. I was going to tell you the same thing.
The same exact score.
Literally.
Wow. Are you serious?
I am dead serious. Now here's the thing. That is, if you're end up being a legit top 10, read what I think you are.
Right.
But this game will tell. If it isn't that, then I got to question the legitimacy of this top 10 thing. Like I did. We all watched Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. There's no top 5 in that team.
Nope, absolutely not.
So, but yeah.
Wow, okay. That's never happened before.
It ends up being 35-21. You're a good Miami team.
I'm right there with you. I agree.
That's what it has to be.
I have always said on my channel that people will poke fun when I will celebrate, for instance, a win over FAMU. And what I always tell people is I'm celebrating the fact that Miami beat that team in the way that they should have beat them. Not scraping by, not escaping with a win. And I would be content with the 48-10 because those are always difficult to predict because let's say Miami is the team that we think they are. Well, if they pull the starters, in the fourth quarter, it might
Yeah.
slow the scoring down a bit. It might give Ball State garbage time points. We don't know. So it's very difficult to predict scores for games like this. But I will
Yeah.
say it is a step up in competition from what we saw last week.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just it. You don't know. I mean, and a lot of that depends on what your staff wants to do too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they want to keep starters until the fourth quarter, like me, we've suffered so many injuries already. I would prefer, hey, play our starters for the first half, and then let our other
Yeah.
young go out there and save ourselves for the MAC where we need to get to a bowl this year. So this get our milk 1.5 and
Yeah. And that's a great take, and that's actually similar to what FAMU did. They ended up pulling their starting quarterback because they were too far behind, and they have, big goals this season. And losing to Miami, doesn't stop that from happening. So they pulled a lot of their starters. Young guys get reps on a big stage, and everybody gets to stay healthy, hopefully. So that's a great take.
That's important. This game really, I mean, you get to put it in the win column as a win. But I mean, other than 1.5 million, I mean, it benefits us. It's a most likely a loss for us. We're trying to get 6-6.
Mm-hmm.
We got JMU coming up. When we scheduled them 10 years ago, who would have thought they are, right?
Yeah, true,
And
true.
Vandy, who I might talk a little more crap about Vandy, but they look better than they have in a minute.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we got an uphill battle. So we want all our guys healthy.
Fair enough. So both of us have 48-10 final score in this game. And to close this thing out, Rob, I do have to ask you about your claim on your Twitter profile, which says you own the world's largest private collection of Ball State stuff. So number one, is this true? And number two, do you have like what's your top crazy piece in your collection that you have?
Has it been verified? No.
Okay, fair.
Can I see it? Have I ever heard of, have I ever seen anyone with anything close? No.
Rob, I have literally never seen a Ball State shirt in person, and here you are in a Ball State shirt, jacket, pullover thing, a hat. I see a Ball State flag behind you. I see footballs that look like they might have autographs on them. I think it might be safe to claim that you have the largest collection.
Well, 2 years ago, my wife and my kids and I were sitting in our dining room on Thanksgiving, and life has happened, and we're the only four left, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in this huge room at this huge table. And I jokingly said, I should turn this into the Ball State room. And my wife goes, I think that'd be awesome.
You got the wife's approval. You got to do it.
So here we are. And I mean, this is the stuff I have displayed, but there's another room that's just boxes of stuff that I can't. I mean, there's no more room to put
Right.
it.
Right.
So, but yeah.
So what's your most impressive thing that you got, you think?
I'll show you what I think might be the only one of in existence and give you a quick backstory on it.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I'll wait. I'll be right here.
All right. Can we see this?
Let's see. I see Ball State. I can't quite read the letters under it.
Okay. Back in 1990, Ball State signed a contract to play in what was called the Shamrock Crystal Bowl game in Dublin, Ireland. Now, what's weird is the game, due to all the civil fighting in Ireland and low ticket sales, after press conference after press conference of Ball State going to Ireland in 1990 to play some team from Ireland,
Mm-hmm.
the game never actually happened.
Oh, wow.
So this hat is from a game that never, ever, ever took place.
Wow. That's very interesting. I
So
have
this probably, this might be the only one of these ever.
so a hat from the 90s for a game that never even occurred.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then, like you said, there's helmets in here and Sweet 16 signed basketballs from when we made a run at the Sweet 16. Autographed team football from 2008, where we were ranked 12th in the nation. Just
I
all kind of, you know what I mean?
I got to give it to you. That's impressive, Rob, because I'm a fan, obviously, of Miami first, but I also just love college football. And I really enjoy having conversations with fans that love the team that they root for. So it's really awesome to see somebody who's a die-hard Ball State fan. You've got all this cool stuff. You're very, very knowledgeable on the team, going back and forth with fan bases and stuff online. So, like I said, I actually, Rob, I have a ton of respect for you. I'm serious.
As well. And like you said, take it on Twitter sphere. It was fun. And I gain a lot of respect for you guys because I don't know how many people, thousands. 99% of them were good. It was lighthearted.
Yeah, we're pretty cool, right, Rob? Come on.
Right,
Most
hey,
of us are pretty cool.
most of you guys are pretty cool. I will give you that. And I'm sure you can find a dipshit Ball State fan.
Oh, yeah.
You can't, it
Yeah.
takes good with the bad, but most of you guys were awesome and I appreciate it. And like I said, hey, come follow the account. Watch us on Tuesday and Wednesday night. Hopefully, win a bunch of games on Maction. We won't get in the way of your Saturday game.
So, Rob, I always ask my guests if they have anything that they do. Obviously, Miami has something that's known around the world. Does Ball State have any kind of chant or hand gesture or any kind of saying or?
We do. I'll give you guys the old. Let me get my hand in there. Chirp, chirp.
All right. I love it, Rob. We appreciate you, man.
And we appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on. And all my Ball State fans, go give this guy a follow. If you don't have your Power 5 team, let it be. I can't believe I'm saying this.
There it is. Tell him, Rob. Tell him.
Man, it kind of pains me, but.
Tell him, come be a part of greatness, guys. You know you want to.
Yes, sir.